With the release of Marvel Studios' new Captain Marvel movie just around the corner, I thought it might be not only fun but helpful to clear up some confusion regarding this character's name. Now, if you grew up in the 70s like me, you may remember watching this live-action Saturday morning series.
Shazam!
A word which transforms him in a flash into the mightiest of mortal beings, Captain Marvel.
And yes, this is Captain Marvel. But this is Captain Marvel too. And so is this. And so is this. And yes, even this is Captain Marvel. More on him in a moment. So how can all of these characters be Captain Marvel? A little history and legal clarifications are in order. The first Captain Marvel was created back in 1940. Now, a movie adaptation of this version of the character is also starring in his first motion picture, and it's entitled Shazam. But longtime comic fans refer to him as the original Captain Marvel or the Golden Age Captain Marvel. Published between 1940 to 1953 by Fawcett Comics and created by artist C.C. Beck and writer Bill Parker, this original version chronicled the adventures of young Billy Batson, an orphan boy who is granted superpowers by an ancient wizard known as Shazam. When Billy speaks the wizard's name, he is transformed into Captain Marvel. The word Shazam was an acronym of 6 immortal elders: Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. From each of these he gained a separate ability. The origin of the original Captain Marvel is so beautifully basic and pure. Just say a magic word, and you are transformed into a superhuman. What child wouldn't immediately love and accept this concept? His earliest adventures were played straight, but it wasn't long before the story started to embrace a fun sense of campiness. He would battle villains like Mr. Mind, a worm wearing glasses and an old-style radio around his neck. He had friends like Mr. Talkie Tawny, a talking lion who stood upright and wore clothes. It was superheroes mixed with fairy tale whimsy, and kids loved it, and they loved Captain Marvel. So popular was the character that there were spin-off titles and characters like Captain Marvel Jr. and Mary Marvel. Captain Marvel was so popular that he beat Superman to the punch and was the first live-action screen adaptation of a comic book superhero, starring in his own movie serial. Captain Marvel was so popular that he outsold Superman. DC Comics, then known as National Publications, fought back in the only way they knew how. They fought back in a way that would have made the Man of Steel himself very proud. They hired the best writers, the best artists, and let the competition inspire them to make Superman the best comic book on the marketplace. Ha! I wish they could have done that. No, instead they sued Fawcett Publications, claiming Captain Marvel was a ripoff of Superman. Fawcett Publications, not willing to throw in the towel on their most profitable character, fought back, and so began a long and protracted legal battle that would drag on and on and on, until during the late 40s and the early 50s, when the popularity of superheroes began to decline. Fawcett Comics felt it wasn't worth the battle anymore. They settled and ceased publication. Side note, in the late 1960s there was another Captain Marvel. He had nothing to do with any other iteration of the character. Seeing that the name of Captain Marvel was no longer trademark, MF Enterprises published the adventures of a different Captain Marvel, whose signature ability was the power to detach his head, limbs, and hands and send them flying off in all directions whenever he shouted the word split. He never caught on, and it's really not hard to see why. With this version of Captain Marvel out of the way, Marvel Comics decided that they needed to acquire the trademark to Captain Marvel because Marvel. Duh. So in 1968, in Marvel Superheroes number 12, we get the first iteration of the modern Marvel Comics version of Captain Marvel. Created by Stan Lee and Gene Colan, He's an alien military officer, Captain Mar-Vell, of the Kree Imperial Militia. He is sent to observe planet Earth, but not in a benevolent, we want to learn about your culture, Star Trek kind of way, but to spy on us because, well, not all alien races from outer space have our best interests. Mar-Vell rebels against his superiors and aligns himself with Earth and becomes known as Marvel's spaceborne hero, Captain Marvel. This was issue 12. In issue 13 of Marvel Superheroes, we are introduced to Carol Danvers, an officer in the United States Air Force and security chief of a restricted military base, where Danvers meets Dr. Walter Lawson, the human alias of the alien Kree hero, Captain Marvel. She will become the love interest for our main character. Pay attention, we will come back to her later. This new Captain Marvel doesn't do amazing sales numbers, but in order to keep the trademark, Marvel has to keep publishing a Captain Marvel title at least once per year, so other writers and artists get to tinker with the character. Captain Marvel gets a costume upgrade, and in the hands of writer-artist Jim Starlin, his adventures start to become more and more cosmic. Meanwhile, over at the competition, DC Comics has acquired the license and later the rights to the original Captain Marvel, the very character whose publication they tried to squash. But Marvel Comics now own the trademark to the name Captain Marvel. So DC Comics had to title the book Shazam and subtitle it The Original Captain Marvel. Marvel Comics actually did take issue with this, so in later issues they had to subtitle it Shazam, the World's Mightiest Mortal. DC Comics could call the character Captain Marvel within the pages of the book, but they couldn't feature the name prominently on the cover of the book or in any marketing or merchandising. This included the TV series that would follow a year later. This was 1973. Meanwhile, back at Marvel, it's 1977, and Carol Danvers, remember her, gets a superhero upgrade and becomes Ms. Marvel. In this series, it is revealed that the energy exposure from the explosion of a device called the Psych Magnetron caused Danvers' genetic structure to meld with Captain Marvel's, effectively turning into a human Kree hybrid. Marvel tries to be self-consciously progressive by calling the book Ms. Marvel, but takes 2 steps back by dressing her in an outfit that is clearly meant to appeal to young teenage boys. But in 1982, Marvel actually kills off their iteration of the character Captain Marvel. They do this in their very first large-format graphic novel, entitled The Death of Captain Marvel. I remember reading this book back in the day. What really surprised fans of the day was the way that Captain Marvel died. He didn't die in some huge blaze of glory, or in any way that fans expected. Instead, he died, quite simply, from cancer. The book ends with him having an existential experience with his former enemy Thanos, who helps guide him into the afterlife. Now, at this point, I'm sure that DC was salivating, but Marvel was certainly not going to give up the trademark. This is where things get really convoluted. Between 1982 and 2012, Marvel Comics rolls out 6 different versions of Captain Marvel. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the first 5 because I don't think they are going to be that important to the upcoming movie. But real quickly, there was Monica Rambeau, a police lieutenant. Genis, or Genis-Vell, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, a genetically engineered son of Mar-Vell. There's Phyla-Vell, who is Genis-Vell's younger sister. And then there's, well, however you pronounce this guy's name, Kinnear, I don't know. Anyways, he was a Skrull sleeper agent. And then there was No-Varr, who, well, you know, I really don't know how he fits into all of this, and I don't think it's really important. For a while, he was Captain Marvel, okay? So finally, in 2012, Marvel Comics finally decides to have Ms. Marvel, a.k.a. Carol Danvers, a character who has been there since the beginning and who should have been the obvious choice all along, to assume the mantle of Captain Marvel. I'm not sure why Marvel took so long to make this painfully obvious decision. I mean, come on, She was there pretty much from the beginning. She gets her powers indirectly from Captain Marvel and becomes a human-Kree hybrid. She even adopts his color scheme and emblem, at least for a while anyways. But better late than never. It is this version, the Carol Danvers version of Captain Marvel, that we will be seeing in the upcoming Marvel Studios movie. And while she's not the first female version of Captain Marvel, she has been Captain Marvel since 2012, and she's been there since the beginning of the Marvel Comics version of the character, back in 1967. Meanwhile, DC Comics still can't prominently use the name Captain Marvel on any media featuring their iteration of the character, and will therefore be entitling their movie adaptation Shazam. I do hope that they will refer to him as Captain Marvel within the motion picture, though. Personally, I'm looking forward to seeing both versions on the big screen. And schedule permitting, I'll be able to go opening week and maybe even do my own review of each film. So there you have it. I hope that clears everything up. Yes, that was some very convoluted history, wasn't it? Aren't you glad you never got into comics? Hi, this is TJR. If you like this video, please be sure to click like, click subscribe, and also click the bell notifications icon so you can know when I release new videos. And if you'd like to help me make more videos, please go to my Patreon page at patreon.com/TJRTheOriginal and make a monthly pledge. Pledging as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month can make a huge difference. Patreon supporters get access to exclusive early content, and it's also the best way to suggest a video topic. And even if you can't become a patron supporter at this time, I still want to say thank you for watching the video, and I look forward to checking out your comments.